Hi, I'm Owen, 32, and last Christmas I learned something I wish I'd figured out years earlier. Nothing reveals the truth about a family quite like success. Or in my case, the moment they think you've succeeded. One minute they're laughing at you across a carved turkey, and the next they're lining up with empty plates. Let me take you back to the night everything cracked. Picture this: a long wooden dining table, the same one I grew up getting lectured at, polished to a shine like it was preparing to judge me again. My family was already deep into their annual performance review of my life. My dad, the self-appointed CEO of our bloodline, sat at the head like he was about to fire me from the family. Mom floated around topping wine glasses with the efficiency of a hotel manager who hasn't taken a day off in 20 years. My siblings, Ryan the accountant and Scarlett the lawyer, were positioned like a panel of experts whose only expertise was reminding me I didn't have a real career. And then there was me. The disappointment with a laptop. One harmless question from my uncle. "So how's that business thing?" And suddenly the whole room went still, like someone had pressed pause on all the fake smiles. Scarlett snorted into her Merlot. Mom straight up laughed, this bright, ringing sound that would have been beautiful if it wasn't stabbing me directly in the chest. Dad just gave that tight-lipped smirk he reserves for things he finds beneath him, like store-brand cereal or emotions. Ryan leaned back like a king on a throne and said the words that still make my jaw clench. "It's time to get serious before it's too late. Maybe you can shadow me at the company." Shadow him. As if my entire existence was just waiting for the chance to carry his briefcase. The cousins chimed in. Jokes. Mockery. One of them laughed so hard mashed potatoes shot out of his nose like some kind of festive rocket. I sat there chewing dry turkey and humiliation, trying to swallow both without choking. I wanted to tell them I'd been working non-stop, that my little, internet hobby, was finally gaining traction, that I'd built something real with nothing but late nights and noodles. But what was the point? They had already decided who I was. Failure. Dreamer. The son who didn't fit the mold. That night, lying in my old childhood bed, the same stupid spaceship sheets my mom refuses to get rid of, I stared at the ceiling and made myself a promise. Someday, they would regret laughing at me. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I was done letting their disbelief weigh more than my own drive. Fast forward to yesterday. My startup landed a $3.1 million contract. $3.1 million. When I tell you I stared at that number until my eyes burned. I thought the bank had emailed the wrong person. But no. It was real. The biggest deal of my life. Proof that I wasn't insane for sticking with it. And then my phone exploded. Not from investors. Not from friends. Family. The same people who couldn't say my name without rolling their eyes suddenly had me on speed dial. My brother wanted 10%. Since he advised me. My sister claimed she had always believed, and asked if I could cover her law school loans. My mother said they needed to discuss how I can support the household. My father said they'd be taking over, managing the money responsibly. Because apparently earning millions doesn't qualify as responsible, but mocking your child at dinner does. And that was only the beginning. Before the night was over, I was no longer a son or a sibling. I was a walking bank account. But that was the moment something in me, something small, quiet, and very, very tired, finally snapped. Because this time, I wasn't broke. And I wasn't powerless. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let the people who mocked my dream treat my success like it belonged to them. This is where everything starts. The funny thing about sudden success, real success, is that it doesn't just make people congratulate you. It makes them reveal themselves. And my family? They revealed themselves like they were auditioning for a documentary titled Greed, a Study in Delusion. It started with the calls. Ryan went first, of course. The man could smell money through concrete. He called me young brother, which he hasn't done since he needed me to lie to mom about where he was in high school. The sweetness in his voice was so thick it gave me a cavity. "You know, bro, I did motivate you. So, like, 10% seems reasonable." 10%. As if the words, "You're wasting your youth," hadn't left his mouth 12 months earlier between forkfuls of stuffing. Scarlett followed with this soft, sentimental voice she only uses when she wants something. "I'm so proud of you," she cooed. "And just remember, I stood by you when no one else did." Stood by me? The woman roasted me harder than the Christmas ham. But now she wanted help with her law school debt, which she claimed was a mutual burden for the family. Mutual. Family. Funny how those words only show up when money does. Then came the voicemail from my mother. "Owen, dear, we're thrilled. Truly. And of course, none of this would have been possible without the values we instilled in you. We'll discuss how you can support the family very soon." Support the family. As if my childhood had been some sort of incubator investment they were expecting returns on. But the real masterpiece was my dad. He didn't congratulate me. He didn't ask anything. He didn't even warm me up. He just launched. "Owen, you need to come to the house this weekend. We have to figure out how you're going to manage the money responsibly." His voice was the same one he used when I was 16 and forgot to take the trash out. "Your project is no longer some little experiment. You're dealing with adult money now. You can't handle millions. Your mother and I will manage it for you." I looked at the phone like it had personally insulted me. "Dad, I've been handling my business fine." He laughed. Actually laughed. That same condescending chuckle that haunted every family dinner. "No, son. You think you have. But this is serious now. We'll take over for your own good. Everyone in the family will benefit. Everyone except me, apparently. Because according to them, the millions I earned weren't mine. They were some sort of communal win. A family jackpot. A group accomplishment built by the very people who called me a failure. And the worst part? It didn't stop there. Aunts. Uncles. Cousins I haven't spoken to since dial-up internet. "Congrats, cuz. Can you loan me $12,000? Maybe make a family fund? You'll take care of us, right? We're blood." But then came the message that knocked the wind out of me. My mother. Again. This time, no sweetness. No congratulations. Just this. "Owen, don't be selfish. Every meal we gave you, every dollar we spent raising you, that was an investment. It's time for you to give back. Your father and I worked too hard to not see the results. An investment." I sat there, staring at that word, feeling something break. Something old. Something fragile. Something I didn't even know was still alive. Because in that moment, I finally understood what I had been to them my entire life. Not a son. A future asset. And now that asset had matured. That night I lay awake in my apartment, staring at my ceiling again, but not the same ceiling as the year before. This one didn't look down on a powerless kid. It looked down on a man with millions in the bank, a thriving company, and a family preparing to strip him clean. But here's the thing. I wasn't going to be their asset. I wasn't going to be their retirement plan. And I damn sure wasn't going to let them rewrite my success as something they were owed. The storm was coming. I just didn't know yet how far they were willing to go to get their share. Hi again. I'm Owen, 32, and this is the part where everything stops being dramatic family entitlement and becomes something else entirely, something that cracked my spine cold and made me realize I was no longer dealing with misguided relatives. I was dealing with predators who believed they owned me. And I didn't truly understand how far they were willing to go, until the morning my bank called. It started with an email, an alert about several failed login attempts on one of my accounts. I brushed it off at first. Bots exist. Hackers exist. Life goes on. But a few hours later my phone rang, and the number on the screen made my stomach drop. "Mr. Hayes? This is the fraud division." Those are not words that pair well with coffee. The representative's voice was careful, almost too gentle. "We've had multiple attempts to change the recovery information on your account. We stopped them, of course, but the security questions used..." She hesitated. "They were answered correctly." "Partially." My teeth clenched. "What kind of questions?" "Your first pet's name. Your childhood street. Your high school mascot. Information no stranger could know. Information my parents had written on my baby photos. That Ryan used in every joke he ever made. That Scarlett once mocked me for when she found my old yearbook. I felt something cold settle inside me. "Do you know who attempted it?" I asked. "We can't confirm identities, but the IP address was very close to your parents' home." For a moment I couldn't breathe. I actually had to sit down. My own family trying to break into my bank account wasn't just greed, it was an attempt to seize control of my life. But I didn't confront them. Not yet. I wanted to believe there was some other explanation, anything but the truth clawing at my spine. I wanted to believe that no parent, no sibling, no blood could look at someone they raised and decide to steal from him. And then my mother sent a group text. A text so bold, so breathtakingly casual, I had to read it 3 times. "We had some trouble accessing your account today, but don't worry, we'll sort it out. It's too much money for you to handle alone. We need to protect it." We. Protect. Like this was charity. Like they were rescuing me from drowning in millions. I typed one word back. "What?" Before my phone even dimmed, my dad called. "Owen," he began, in that tone he used when I was grounded as a teenager. "Your mother and I made a decision. This isn't up for debate." He talked slowly, like he was walking a toddler through instructions. "You are not mature enough to handle this amount of money. We've seen people lose everything. We're stepping in before you ruin your future. Ruin my future? They were trying to take my future. You have no right to. Owen. He cut me off. We already agreed. Your mother and I will manage the serious money. You can keep whatever you feel is appropriate for living expenses. Living expenses? Like I was 15. Like my millions were their allowance to distribute. Like the business I built was a lemonade stand they bought for me from a flea market. And then he said something that made my pulse hammer in my ears. Your siblings are ready to help as well. We've all talked about it. All talked about it. Behind my back. About my bank accounts. My contracts. My work. My life. Ryan texted seconds later. Bro, once mom and dad have access, I'll start investing part of it. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Scarlett chimed in with her signature emotional manipulation. Owen, sweetheart, you're overwhelmed. Let us take over. You'll thank us later. Thank them? For robbing me blind. And then came the line, the one that turned betrayal into a physical sensation, like someone dropped a weight on my chest. Family shares, Owen. Shares throughout the family. Family. Shares. This wasn't love. This wasn't concern. This was acquisition. They weren't planning to help me, they were planning to take control. Divide my money like an inheritance I hadn't died to give them yet. That was the moment something inside me hardened. Not anger, anger I already knew well. Something sharper. Quieter. Steelier. I hadn't earned millions just to become their property. I hadn't built my business from sleepless nights and empty cupboards just to be handled like a trust fund toddler. I wasn't going to let them turn the life I fought for into a family buffet. So I let them talk. I let them circle. I let them think they were pulling me back into the cage they'd welded around me years ago. Because while they were plotting, something else started forming inside me. A plan. Hi, I'm Owen, 32, and this is the part where I stopped being the quiet kid they could steamroll and started becoming someone they never expected, someone they couldn't control. But before I could fight back, I had to understand exactly what I was up against. And what I discovered was worse than anything they'd ever said to my face. Silence is powerful. I didn't respond to their messages. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't reassure them, argue with them, or explain myself. I let the quiet stretch, because in silence, people reveal themselves. They get sloppy. And my family got spectacularly sloppy. The first big crack came from Ryan. The man couldn't keep his mouth shut if you offered him money to do it. One night, nearly midnight, I was going through my inbox. 20 unread texts, 7 missed calls, 4 voicemails, and I decided to check social media, which I hadn't touched in weeks. There it was, a photo of Ryan at a bar with his friends, drinks raised, faces smug. The caption? Everyone eats soon when your bro finally cashes out. My jaw actually dropped. He wasn't just planning to take my money, he told strangers they'd benefit too. Under the post, his friends had commented things like, "Don't forget us when the checks drop," and "Man's about to be set for life thanks to you." Thanks to him. As if I'd earned millions by basking in his wisdom like some kind of motivational sun lamp. I screenshotted everything. Then, a week later, Scarlett made her mistake. She texted me, but clearly meant it for someone else. "Don't worry, I'll help you when Owen finally gives in. He owes us." 2 seconds later, another message. "Oops, wrong chat. Ignore that. Ignore that. Ignore your own words? Ignore the entitlement baked so deep it practically dripped?" I saved that too. Meanwhile, the phone calls from my parents kept coming, each one more theatrical than the last. My mother left a voicemail sighing dramatically, like she was rehearsing for a soap opera audition. "Owen, you're being childish. Your father and I are exhausted from worrying about you. Please stop being difficult. You're going to ruin everything we built for you." Everything they built? My father left a more stern message. "If you don't come over and discuss this, your mother and I will have to take steps. You are not handling this responsibly." Steps. Steps to do what? Steal it. They'd already tried that. But I held my silence. Because silence was bait. And my family was hungry. While they spiraled, I started moving, quietly, strategically, like a man preparing for siege. I found a real financial advisor, Martin, who looked at my situation with the calm seriousness of someone who'd seen this movie before. "You're not the first client with this problem," he told me. "Legacy families often lose perspective when money enters the picture. What you need is protection." Protection. The word felt like oxygen. Together we built barriers, trusts, new accounts, legal firewalls they couldn't breach even if they guessed every security question from here to my kindergarten teacher's shoe size. I started documenting everything, every voicemail, every attempted login, every guilt trip that dripped entitlement. Then Martin said something I'll never forget. Money doesn't change people. It reveals them. And wow, did mine reveal things. But financial defenses were only half the battle. My emotional defenses were paper thin from years of being the family punching bag. So I rebuilt those too. I joined a gym. I made myself leave the apartment. I reconnected with old friends, attended networking events, met people who didn't see me as a walking ATM. Each day I felt stronger, clearer, a little more like someone who deserved the life he built. And my business? It kept growing. More deals. More opportunities. More proof that I wasn't the incompetent child my family had sculpted in their heads. I felt like I was finally stepping out of a cage I hadn't realized I'd been living in. But strength has a funny effect on people who benefit from your weakness. They panic. And when families like mine panic, they escalate. The next thing they did wasn't petty. It wasn't annoying. It wasn't even just manipulative. It was illegal. And it was the moment I stopped preparing to defend myself. And started preparing to end this. At this part of story, the situation stopped being family drama and became a full-scale assault, one that would have destroyed me completely if I hadn't already begun preparing for war. Up until now, their greed was insulting, humiliating, even dangerous. But what happened next crossed a line you don't come back from. It started with a quiet phone call from Martin, my financial advisor. He never called after business hours unless something was wrong, and when I saw his name flash across my screen at 8:47 p.m, I already knew, deep in my bones, that my family had done something reckless. "Owen," he said carefully, "we had an incident today." My stomach tightened. "What kind of incident?" "Your parents contacted one of the banks that manages your business accounts." I closed my eyes, bracing. "Let me guess, they claimed they were acting on my behalf." "Yes," he replied. "And they sent a letter as proof." "A letter?" He hesitated. "With your signature." A silence followed so heavy it felt physical. "They forged my signature," I said, my voice low. "We've already flagged it and reported the attempt." Martin continued. "But Owen, they didn't just try to access your accounts. They attempted to claim legal authority over your finances." I felt something cold, steady, almost eerie settle through me. Because in that moment, I realized my family wasn't just greedy, they believed, with absolute confidence, that they were entitled to take what was mine. They had stopped asking. They were now taking. And if they were willing to forge my signature? They were willing to do anything. That night I didn't spiral. I didn't cry. I didn't pace my apartment like I had a dozen nights before. I sat down at my desk, closed the last of my business tabs, and opened a blank document. If they wanted a war, I would give them one. The next morning, I hired an attorney. Her name was Dana, and she was sharp, calm, and not even remotely intimidated by the mountain of insanity I dropped on her desk. When I told her about the forged letter, she didn't gasp or clutch her pearls. She just nodded once. "This is financial coercion," she said. "It's also attempted fraud. And if they escalate, it becomes abuse. We're putting protections in place immediately." I swear, in that moment, I nearly broke down, not from fear, but from relief. For the first time in my life, an adult was on my side. We worked quietly. Strategically. Clinically. She helped me set up legal notifications requiring my explicit consent for any action involving my accounts or company. We documented every voicemail, every text, every hacking attempt. She told me something that still echoes in my mind. Paper trails protect you from manipulation. Receipts protect you from revisionist history. And then I got the next crack in the foundation. Ryan exposed himself again. I wasn't looking for it, but social media has a way of showing you the worst things at the worst times. He posted a picture of himself and a group of coworkers at a rooftop party, holding drinks, smiling big. The caption? "Can't wait until the payout drops from my brother. Drinks on him next time." My skin went cold. His coworkers commented. "Your brother's the millionaire? Lucky. Don't forget us when you're rich too. Family benefits, man." Screenshotted. Saved. Filed. Then Scarlett slipped. She sent another text meant for someone else, some friend, some boyfriend, some person she had promised money that wasn't hers. "Don't worry, he always folds when mom pushes him. We'll all get what we need." Then, oops. Ignore that last message. Sure. I'll ignore it. Right into my evidence folder. Meanwhile, my business kept growing. More deals. More credibility. More distance between who I had been and who I was becoming. And my family? They sensed that distance. They sensed I was slipping out of reach, like a rope sliding through desperate hands. And when people like them feel control slipping, they go feral. The threats began next. Ryan texted. If you don't let us help, we'll have to intervene. Scarlett wrote. You're ruining the family. You're not well, Owen. Money is getting to your head. My mother left a voicemail dripping with weaponized sorrow. You're forcing us to take actions we didn't want to take. You're breaking your parents' hearts. But the most chilling message came from my father. A single sentence. Don't make us protect you from yourself. That was the moment I knew they believed they could still win. That they were counting on me to crack, to fold, to beg, to come home with my paperwork in hand like a scolded child asking forgiveness. But they were wrong. Because by the time December rolled around, 1 year after they laughed in my face at Christmas dinner, I wasn't the same man. I was ready. And they had no idea what was coming. By the time Christmas rolled around again, exactly 1 year after they mocked me across that same long wooden table, I was fully prepared, not just legally, not just financially, but mentally in a way I'd never been before. They still thought silence meant weakness. They still believed I'd show up trembling with gratitude, apologizing for daring to grow beyond the role they assigned me. And that delusion was exactly what I needed. My mother sent the annual holiday invitation with the smugness of someone convinced history was about to repeat itself. Everyone is so excited to see you this year, she said, her voice dripping with expectation. It will be wonderful to celebrate this special year together. Special. Meaning, the year they intended to cash out. I accepted with perfect politeness. It was almost too easy. The house looked exactly the same when I arrived, candles glowing, silverware polished like it was trying to reflect back my place in the hierarchy. They gathered around me with overeager smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Ryan clapped me on the back like a business partner walking into a negotiation. Scarlett kissed my cheek as if she hadn't spent months plotting behind my back. My parents hovered like royalty awaiting tribute. Dinner felt like a dress rehearsal for a ceremony they believed was inevitable. Every conversation danced around money without ever touching it directly. Little hints, little nudges, little reminders that they were the reason I turned out the way I did. My father even raised a glass in a stiff, performative toast. To Owen, he said, for finally stepping into his place in this family. Not his success. Not his hard work. His place. They weren't toasting me. They were toasting what they were certain they were about to gain. After dessert, my mother placed her hand on mine, smiling with that calm, practiced authority she'd used my entire life. Why don't you tell everyone what your plans are? I'm sure we're all eager to hear them. The room fell silent. They had set the stage perfectly. And I let them. I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Not thick, just enough paper to end the entire illusion they built. My father frowned, confused by the lack of wrapped checks or bank paperwork. My siblings leaned in. I've been quiet for a reason, I said. Tonight seemed like the right time to be clear. I opened the folder and began sliding pages across the table. Screenshots. Voicemails transcribed. Ryan's bar post. Scarlett's misfired texts. My parents' group message admitting they tried to access my accounts. The forged letter. One by one, every piece of proof of what they'd done. The shift in the room was instant. Confusion first. Then recognition. Then panic, raw, visible, and almost pathetic. These, I said, keeping my voice steady, are just a portion of what I've documented. Enough to file charges. Enough to end careers. Enough to ensure none of you ever speak in my name again. No one breathed. I want to be absolutely clear tonight, I continued. You will never touch my money. You will never access my accounts. You will never speak to a bank or institution claiming to represent me again. If any of you even attempt to, the next person you hear from will be my attorney. Scarlett opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Ryan flinched like I'd slapped him. My mother stared down at the forged letter as if it were a bomb she'd accidentally armed. My father finally forced out. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't drag your own family through the mud. I looked him dead in the eye. Try me. The silence that followed was the kind you never forget, the sound of authority collapsing, of entitlement crumbling, of people who thought they owned you realizing you had slipped completely out of their reach. I stood, left the folder on the table, and walked out. No dramatic exit. No raised voice. Just finality. The aftermath came fast. Messages from Ryan begging me to reconsider. Voicemails from Scarlett trying to rewrite history. A cold, clipped email from my mother demanding I apologize for humiliating them. My father didn't call at all. His silence was the closest thing to admission I'd ever get from him. Dana filed the official notices. Martin locked down every account. And one by one, their voices went quiet when they realized I wasn't bluffing. A year later, I spent Christmas with people who actually cared about me. People who didn't see me as a paycheck with legs. People who laughed with me, not at me. Somewhere out there, My family was probably staring at their empty holiday table, wondering how they'd lost the son they never valued in the first place. They didn't lose me because I got rich. They lost me because the moment I finally stood up for myself, they realized they never owned me at all. The end.